Okay, well I'm gonna go over some trend lines and try to do some zone boxes. It's gonna be uh, hard to do with the way NQ decided to push up at the end of the day, but my computer crashed today, and somehow after trading all these months on NQ, my charts did not save, so I lost everything that was on them, and I'm trying to rebuild them, which will be a good time to do a video. So because NQ's been pushing up, we don't really have any overhead for trend lines. But I'm going to go over here and I'm going to switch this to the 4-hour. And we're going to take a look at this. I got this green trend line on here on this 4-hour. I'm going to scoot this back a little. So I want to make sure that them lines are touching, them trend lines are touching them wicks or candle bodies, whichever way you prefer to do it. Now, typically, if I do the 4-hour, I kind of just work my way down to, say, the 2-hour, maybe the 1 hour, 30, 15 minute. Any of them time frames will work as long as you understand why you're doing it. The problem is with this 4-hour on here, that was back in June, into June, and see it went up and it's never come back and touched this 4-hour trend line. So you really can't start a lower time frame trend line unless you go off this wick right here, and we don't have nothing to pull to. So as far as a major trend line, that's the only one we can have at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and switch down to, let's say, the 5-minute chart. And I'm going to have to go back and try to find some zone boxes to put in because, like I said, my charts got lost when my computer crashed. They didn't save for some reason. And looking at what happened here at the end of the day with this push, you know, this is this little area of consolidation right here. This is where it dropped hard, bounced up, and put in this little bear flag before it ripped to the upside. I would have to say that if this returns this price up here, I would want to put in, let's see, I would be comfortable grabbing the region box and looking at this little area right here. Maybe right there to right here, because back here it tapped into that today and went under, came back in, it went under, hit the top, stayed in it, went out a little. You know, it's about the top of that box, the more confluence that you can get, like candles tapping where a particular high or a particular low is a good way to gauge where to put them boxes. And then we're up here at 660. This puts the box down about 120 points or so, which is a good location for it for sure, because if you're trading NQ, if this gets a fast enough pull back down and it drops 120 points pretty quick, it's definitely more than likely going to bounce after a 120 point drop. Maybe not always, but you could always bet to put up some risk there. You know, if this, I use pivot points, there's a pivot point right here in the center. It's a real good magnet as well. So if I was trading this, let's say tomorrow, and this is dropping, depending on how the day was going, I may not put my orders in that box, or I might start them right here at the bottom, and I would put them in all the way down to that pivot point. We got about a 10-point difference there, pivot point to the bottom of that box. The way I usually look at something when I'm trading, it would be hard for me to necessarily put my orders in here when I know this pivot point is here, because even though that's a big drop, that pivot point's a magnet. It's kind of like VWAP. I don't use VWAP on these charts, but I would be comfortable putting in some orders here at that pivot point for a good bounce. I mean, after a 120 or 30 point drop, you could usually look for a 30 point plus bounce, a lot of times much higher than 30 points when you're trading NQ. We got some other areas of confluence of price here. I'm not going to draw any boxes back in there just yet, but that's a quick rundown of some of the things you can do. You can see when we drop down to this 5-minute chart, now my green line's not touching that candle again. Sometimes you'll want to correct that as you go down to the lower time frames. Make sure that they are actually touching them wicks. So now we would say we'd have to break through that zone. This would be a pretty big pullback to get down to that 4-hour trend line. We're looking at 300 plus points to get there. And if we did, though, I would be, if we didn't get a bounce off this pivot point right here, that dropped and we did not get a bounce, a lot of buyers in that area, and we keep breaking down, my next long would be here. Now, I'll still scalp inside all this trading going on in between these zones, depending on what it looks like. I scalp every day, 5, 10, 15 points. I like trading price action and momentum. If I see momentum in a candle, and I see it right here, I'm going in short. I'm covering in 5 or 10 points, 15, or I might let one ride. You got options of using ATM strategies. You go over, click ATM strategies. I got all these strategies that I've built out trading NQ, and I used to trade MNQ, but I don't anymore. Although I do use MNQ ATMs that I've built with NQ sometimes. A lot of people like using them because they don't have to mentally use their stop and hit that button. They can just let it ride. It's already got everything programmed. It'll stop you out if it goes against you. And also, depending on what the ATR is at, I might use them as well. The higher the ATR and crazier the market trades, volatility, I might start using them on a day like that, or I'll just stay away from the trade altogether. Most of the time, I don't use an ATM strategy at all. I just put in my own stops, buys and sales right on the chart. I do have a buy-sell indicator that I built for NinjaTrader. I took a trade off it sometime later in the day when I came back and passed another eval for Bullinox with it, and it was right here. And this spot right here, let me grab this. That little green arrow in there. Put it in. The signal got put in at when the candle closed, so it pulled back a little. So if you was in NQ, you was looking at about a 10 or 11 point pullback. I guess it depends on what your risk tolerance is. That's not much for me. So I bought as soon as that candle closed. I put 2 orders in. They picked up down here. I sold one in this candle. Going up, I sold a second one right up in here. Held this one in that down, and I bought one more right there. So I averaged up a little bit. And then I don't like doing that. I don't like to buy again unless it goes against me. But anyhow, it took off, and I sold into that little push there. That's how I passed that one today, and that's the FTE buy sell indicator I built. It's on gumroad.com. At the moment, I do have a Discord started. It's a private Discord, and the only way to get into that Discord is to purchase the indicators for NinjaTrader off Gumroad, or there's a little I think 20-page book on there, and then I got them bundled together. I'm working on some other things for that, some other indicators, but I want to make sure I get all the kinks worked out first. I think that's all for today. If you would go to Futures Trader Elite at youtube.com and like and subscribe for more content. I'm going to be pushing out quite a bit in the coming days, hopefully. And if you have any questions or want me to go over something particular, just reach out to me at futuretraderelite at gmail.com if you want to email me, or if you're in another Discord with me, you can reach out to me. And I also built this MACD I'm using down here for NinjaTrader. They didn't have one I liked, so I built this one. It actually put in an early signal on that trade as well. And I usually take the early entries most of the time, depending on how some of the other things look on the chart at that point in time. But that was a decent trade right there. All the buy sell signals don't work, which they do not all work with any program. I've had plenty of other programs, and it's a percentage thing. Some work out, some don't. So you always got to make sure you got good risk management. Sometimes they go in certain times of the day are better when they're put in. They are built, the buy sell signals are built on EMA crossovers and RSI and SMI, I believe, is what I got in there. But they will only get put in when everything's in the right direction. So once again, like and subscribe for more content like this.